Hello, everyone. As probably most of you know, my name is Michel, and thank you very much for joining us. Today, I'm delighted to host Dr. Rafael González Maldonado to discuss everything you wanted to know about Mucuna, but were afraid to ask your neurologist. This probably echoes with a movie by Woody Allen that some of you might have seen, where they're not talking about Mucuna. This event coincides with the launch of Dr. Maldonado's new book, which shares the same title. Dr. Maldonado is a renowned neurologist based in Granada in Spain with more than 4 decades of medical experience. He's also a world specialist in Mucuna pruriens, a tropical legume that contains L-Dopa, a precursor to dopamine, but you know that. For today's session, Dr. Maldonado will be joined by his translator, Jérôme Simonin, who is in Switzerland, and Marianne van Rossum, who is in Holland. She's the creator of the Mucuna Parkinson's Forum in Holland. And both Marianne and Jérôme are listed as co-authors for Dr. Maldonado's new book. You will also notice a slight change to the format today, as we will be using videos that were specially prepared for this webinar instead of the traditional slides. So I hope you will enjoy the videos. Before we start, I would like to remind everyone that this session is for information and education purposes only. So if you're seeking medical advice, please make sure that you consult a medical professional. There will be time for questions and answers at the end of the presentation, as always. And if you want to ask a question, please use the Q&A function at the bottom of your screen. For those of you who don't know us yet, No Silver Bullet is managed by Mark Lambert and myself with the aim of sharing Parkinson's expertise. We aim to help you and honestly to motivate you to make informed choices on how to adapt your lifestyle to manage your symptoms and hopefully to slow down disease progression. We post the videos, the recording of our webinars on YouTube and Spotify. The details are available in the chat section at the bottom of your screen, as well as on our website. And our website is nosilverbullet4pd.com, nosilverbullet4pd.com. But let's come back to today's topic and to Dr. Rafael González Maldonado. And Rafael, thank you very much for agreeing to speak to us today. We're very lucky to have you, and the stage is yours.
Oh, I feel very honored by the invitation from No Silver Bullet. Thank you, Michel. Thank you, Mark. Thank you, everyone participating in this meeting. As we will soon find out, my spoken English is quite poor. Therefore, instead of slides, I will present some short videos to explain the main points of today's topic. I'm lucky to have a very kind and multilingual friend, Jérôme, who will help me with your question. Who I am? I am an academic neurologist, but I also consider complementary treatments for my patient. One of the more interesting is Mucuna. In Parkinson's disease, Mucuna can be effective as complementary treatment, but only if used correctly. However, many people take it without understanding its benefits and risks. Furthermore, many products made from Mucuna do not clearly state what they contain, and some do not even contain what they claim. Many doctors distrust Mucuna, either due to a lack of knowledge from them, due to the difficulty in dosage, or having concern that patients may use it without supervision. Supervision is the first question to use Mucuna properly. This lack of information and guidance creates confusion. Over this, however, this can be overcome. Mucuna can be effective if patients are well informed, if they buy a good quality product and are under medical supervision. Many patients seek alternative therapy, but are afraid of how their doctor might react. That will be my first video. As a result, they turn to dubious online sources. Through their experience, I have learned lessons that neither books nor Congress can teach. I was very fortunate to meet Marianne van der Meer, the creator of Mucuna Parkinson's Forum, and Jérôme Simonin, who has translated several of my books, English and French. They are really enthusiastic to know more about Mucuna. Their question helped me deepen my understanding of the subject and ultimately shaped this book. Everything you always wanted to know about Mucuna but were afraid to ask your neurologist. The short video are the first one, why are you afraid to ask your neurologist about mucuna? The second, mucuna versus Sinemet. The third, practical, risk of mucuna. And later, practical also, what mucuna should I buy? The fifth is a video that speaks about other conference here in Parkinson, in bullet, and no silver bullet. Is mucuna only from the poor? Finally, mucuna and Carbidopa.
Thank you very much, Rafael. Mark, if you don't mind sharing your screen and getting the video started.
Yes, if he can start the video.
Yes, here we go.
Why are patients with Parkinson's disease afraid to ask their neurologist for mucuna? It is totally normal to feel unsure about talking to your doctor about alternative therapies like mucuna. We understand your concerns. You are worried your doctor will be skeptical, disproving, or even blaming you. Some patients are interested when they hear about others who have found natural remedies work. They are looking to see if they can take less or even stop taking conventional medication. But they do not know how their doctor will react, so they investigate these options on their own, using little information they find online. This is risky. It is important to have your doctor on your side when you are trying out new treatments, including mucuna. Without guidance, patients may unknowingly misuse or mix it with other medicine in ways that reduce effectiveness or increase risks. See for advice from a doctor. Meanwhile, in patient forums and even among some receptive doctors, there has been a growing idea that early Parkinson's can be treated with less conventional approaches, possibly delaying the need for standard drugs. It is important to remember that while drugs are necessary, starting them too early or at high doses can cause problems in the long term. There are other ways to explore too. For example, exercise is a fantastic alternative treatment for slowing down the progression of the disease. Parkinson's drugs are highly effective at managing symptoms, but unfortunately, some patients experience complications such as dyskinesias, uncontrollable movements, after several years. These are not caused by the disease itself, but by years of medication. Doctors have tried to delay the use of levodopa, such as Sinemet or Madapar, by starting with less potent alternatives, such as dopaminergic agonists, such as pramipexole or ropinirole. However, these substitutes also cause side effects over time, including sleep disturbances, digestive problems, and impulse control disorders. On a more positive note, some patients have been able to delay the need for these drugs by making a few simple lifestyle changes, getting regular exercise, and even trying mucuna. The great thing about mucuna is that it can delay the need for conventional levodopa or dopaminergic agonists for years, potentially sparing patients some of the side effects. In my 30 years of practice, I have seen patients try natural options with hope and determination, even when they are unsure. Levodopa is a great drug when used correctly. It is also worth noting that because something is natural does not necessarily mean it is safe. It is a shame when patients try mucuna without guidance because they are afraid of being judged. Mucuna can be risky when mixed with other Parkinson's drugs. This is particularly the case when doctors may not be aware or interested in mucuna, perhaps because there have not been many clinical studies done on it yet. Despite all the research that shows its benefits, there is still not much interest. Another thing to watch out for is that products can vary in concentration, which can make dosing tricky. This can be a bit confusing for patients and doctors. Some manufacturers are making things worse by selling misleading products. This can lead patients to try things that are not safe. There are many mucuna products that vary in dosage and quality. Find a knowledgeable pharmacist and a practitioner who understands Mucuna and how it works with other PD treatments. The doctor should guide you on dosage and timing. Don't try to self-administer Mucuna. If you follow this advice, you might be able to delay taking conventional medications or use Mucuna alongside conventional therapies under your doctor's supervision. This three-part strategy provides a safer, more rounded option for managing Parkinson's disease.
Well, as you can see, if Mucuna is taken properly, is very important treatment, always with medical assistance. The second video is a comparison between Mucuna's natural levodopa and Sinemet synthetic levodopa Carbidopa.
The Sinemet. Natural levodopa in Mucuna pruriens versus synthetic levodopa in Sinemet. A comparative guide for Parkinson's care. Imagine a world where the natural gifts of plants rival the precision tools of modern medicine. For Parkinson's disease, the choice between natural levodopa from Mucuna pruriens and synthetic levodopa in medications like Sinemet brings that decision to life. Which is best for you? Levodopa is the cornerstone of Parkinson's disease treatment. Both natural and synthetic forms convert into dopamine, the brain chemical that Parkinson's depletes. This essential dopamine boost reduces tremors, stiffness, and movement challenges. Yet, not all levodopa is created equal. Synthetic levodopa, like Sinemet, is rigorously manufactured. It's paired with carbidopa to limit side effects and ensure more dopamine reaches the brain. In comparison, Mucuna pruriens delivers levodopa straight from nature, alongside other bioactive compounds. Could this bring extra benefits? Synthetic levodopa offers unmatched consistency. Every dose delivers precisely measured amounts of levodopa and carbidopa, ensuring predictable symptom relief. However, nature is less controlled. Mucuna pruriens levodopa levels vary by plant batch. This variability may make symptom management more challenging for some patients. Mucuna pruriens contains more than just levodopa. It includes serotonin precursors, antioxidants, and essential minerals like magnesium and zinc. These compounds might boost mood, support nerve health, and reduce oxidative stress caused by Parkinson's progression. In contrast, Sinemet focuses solely on motor symptoms, leaving non-motor issues like anxiety and sleep unaffected. Both options can present gastrointestinal symptoms such as nausea or bloating. Sinemet often has fewer side effects in this area due to carbidopa. Meanwhile, Mucuna lacks this inhibitor, increasing the chance of digestion-related side effects. Mucuna pruriens may act faster than Sinemet, kicking in as early as 20 minutes after intake. Its natural matrix could allow a slower dopamine release, potentially providing longer-lasting relief. Yet, its effectiveness swings with dosing consistency. Sinemet excels in managing motor symptoms with precision dosing. But Parkinson's isn't just about movement, it affects mood, sleep, and cognition. Mucuna pruriens, serotonin, and antioxidants offer potential advantages in addressing these non-motor symptoms, providing a more comprehensive sense of well-being. Synthetic levodopa replenishes dopamine efficiently, but doesn't stop disease progression. It may even contribute to oxidative stress with prolonged use. On the flip side, Mucuna pruriens, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory agents hint at potential neuroprotective effects. Though this remains scientifically unproven, more large-scale studies are needed. Mucuna pruriens could be a practical alternative in regions with limited access to synthetic medications. Its affordability and natural availability make it appealing for some. However, patients should weigh these advantages against the challenges of inconsistent dosing and the absence of clinical guarantees. If precise symptom control and reliable dosing are priorities, synthetic levodopa in Sinemet is unrivaled. But for those seeking a holistic approach or experiencing side effects from synthetic options, Mucuna pruriens may offer valuable supplementary benefits. The choice depends on your symptoms, lifestyle, and response to treatments. Both natural and synthetic levodopa have roles in Parkinson's care. It's not one or the other. Some patients may benefit from combining both under medical guidance, Regular monitoring and adjustments by a neurologist are critical to avoid excess dopamine and ensure symptom stability. Deciding between Mucuna pruriens and synthetic levodopa is personal. Discuss these options with your healthcare provider to create a tailored treatment plan. Whether you prefer nature's touch or science's precision, understanding your choices empowers you to live better with Parkinson's disease.
Well, video number 3 is a warning. Risks of Mucuna. Everybody who take Mucuna must know the benefits, but also the risk. No, it's not very risk if you are informed, if you have a good product, I repeat, and if you have a medical supervision, a medical control. That is the risk.
Understanding the risks of Mucuna pruriens, Parkinson's disease, a guide for patients. Mucuna pruriens, a natural plant-based source of levodopa, has emerged as an intriguing alternative in managing Parkinson's disease symptoms. However, while it offers potential benefits, understanding its disadvantages and risks is vital for informed decision-making, empowering patients to engage thoughtfully in their treatment under the guidance of their healthcare provider. Mucuna pruriens may sound appealing due to its natural label, but patients should remain cautious. Here are key considerations. Natural doesn't always mean safer. Herbal products, nutrients, or dietary supplements may contain other substances in excess of the benefits, which may have adverse effects on their own or by interacting with medicines. The levodopa in Mucuna is chemically identical to that in synthetic medications like Sinemet or Madopa. Since Mucuna pruriens contains levodopa, its side effects can mirror those of synthetic medications. These include nausea and vomiting. Levodopa can be converted to dopamine outside the brain, irritating the gut and triggering nausea or vomiting. Without a decarboxylase inhibitor, for example, Carbidopa, these side effects may be heightened with Mucuna. Orthostatic hypotension. A sudden drop in blood pressure upon standing can lead to dizziness or fainting if large amounts of Mucuna are taken, especially with the ultra-concentrated preparations. Dyskinesia. Prolonged levodopa use can lead to involuntary jerky movements. Dyskinesia is less common with Mucuna. However, it may occur if high doses are taken for a long time. Neuropsychiatric symptoms. Symptoms such as anxiety, mood swings, vivid dreams, or hallucinations are less common with Mucuna than with conventional drugs, but may occur especially in later stages of the disease or at higher doses. Patients must recognize that potential side effects from Mucuna require the same vigilance and management as those associated with synthetic levodopa therapy. The complexities of Mucuna pruriens go beyond levodopa content, as it contains other bioactive plant compounds. These may cause allergic reactions. Handling or ingesting Mucuna seeds or powders may cause skin irritation or rashes in sensitive individuals. Variability in levodopa levels between batches poses a challenge for predictable dosing, leading to fluctuating symptoms. Heart under pressure. Producing more dopamine outside the brain may increase heart rate, tachycardia, stressing the cardiovascular system. Patients in the following categories should avoid or consult their doctor before use. Cardiovascular issues. People with arrhythmias or hypertension may experience worsened symptoms. Mental health disorders. Mucuna may aggravate schizophrenia, psychosis, or severe mood disorders. Gastrointestinal diseases. Conditions like ulcers or Crohn's disease could worsen with Mucuna's digestive side effects. Diabetes. Mucuna may interfere with blood sugar levels, complicating diabetes management. Bruising risk. Altered blood vessel dilation may make some patients more prone to bruising. Medication interactions. Combining Mucuna with antidepressants or antihypertensives could lead to dangerous responses, such as blood pressure imbalances or reduced effectiveness of antipsychotics. Inconsistent levodopa content. Mucuna's variability in levodopa content may amplify these fluctuations, underscoring the need for close dosage monitoring. Access to Mucuna products can be restricted due to levodopa regulations or unclear labeling. These challenges may disrupt treatment continuity and require consideration when deciding whether to rely on Mucuna. The main health risks of Mucuna pruriens are associated with long-term use without medical supervision and in high doses. Highly concentrated Mucuna products, more than 50%, sometimes 99%, are particularly dangerous, even more so if they are in powder form. In these cases, the risk of overdose is very high. In addition, at such high concentrations, almost all of the levodopa is lost, and the benefits of the plant have been compromised by a very artificial extraction process. Patients should approach Mucuna with realistic expectations and prioritize discussions with their neurologist or movement disorder specialist. The right Parkinson's treatment balances potential benefits, known risks, and personal health factors. If you find out all you can about Mucuna, buy a reliable product and take it under medical supervision, you will be able to obtain all the benefits that this plant can provide for many patients.
Is Mucuna only for the poor? In this video, I comment on the interesting conference in this No Silver Bullet webinar of Dr. Roberto Cilia, whom I follow and admire. He advised against Mucuna in developed countries because of some risk. I agree that there are risks if it is not used properly, and that has a solution. The solution is to take Mucuna properly. No, that's the other. No, what Mucuna should I buy? Yes, we begin by the best Mucuna. Okay.
You diagnosed me with a mild form of Parkinson's disease, and for now I prefer not to take any conventional medication. You recommended exercise, fresh air, and a change in my lifestyle, a more relaxed and optimistic attitude. We also discussed the possibility of starting with natural levodopa from Mucuna pruriens. There are many Mucuna products, and I have several questions to ask you if you don't mind. Firstly, is it true that some Mucuna products do not state how much levodopa they contain?
Unfortunately, it is. Many Mucuna prurien supplements fail to clarify the exact levodopa content. This is vital for people with Parkinson's because no clear labeling can mean underdosing, leading to insufficient symptom relief, or overdosing, leading to nausea, dyskinesias, or cardiac problems. It also complicates combining Mucuna with existing medications. My advice: choose reputable brands whose labels clearly indicate the total amount and percentage of levodopa, and always seek guidance from your doctor.
Is all the information on Mucuna labels accurate?
Sadly, some manufacturers exaggerate or misrepresent levodopa levels in their products. In a piece of work that I discussed with one of the authors, Tanya Denner, several well-known brands of Mucuna were analyzed, and it turned out that they did not contain the levodopa that they claimed. And the variations ranged from just 6% of what was claimed to 140%, which was more than expected. This can lead to lower levodopa than advertised, resulting in inadequate symptom control. Higher levodopa than stated, increasing the risk of side effects. Such inconsistencies make proper dosing nearly impossible, even for healthcare professionals trying to help. Hence, it's essential to look for standardized Mucuna from manufacturers that perform reliable laboratory testing.
Why is a certificate of analysis so important?
A certificate of analysis, COA, means the product has been assessed by an independent laboratory, which verifies the quality and safety of the supplement, ensuring it meets the required standards for consumption. This is particularly important for Parkinson's patients considering Mucuna pruriens, as proper labeling and verification are crucial. The real percentage of levodopa. The absence of harmful contaminants. If a manufacturer does not provide a complete COA, or if it's missing critical information, the safest approach is not to purchase the product.
What should I look for when buying Mucuna?
1. Standardization and levodopa content. Quality supplements often range between 5% and 40% levodopa. Ideally, the label states exactly how many milligrams of levodopa are in each capsule or per gram of powder. 2. Reputable brands that undertake rigorous quality control and provide laboratory verification. 3. Minimal additives. A high-quality Mucuna product should primarily contain the Mucuna pruriens extract without unnecessary fillers. 4. Form, capsules, more precise doses, or powder. Requires careful measurement with a digital scale. 5. Medical supervision, especially if you are taking levodopa carbidopa. It is imperative that your neurologist adjusts the dosages as there is a risk of overdose.
Does the way I take Mucuna change its effects?
Of course, Olivia, whole seed powder often absorbs more gradually, but levodopa levels can vary, making dosage less accurate. Standardized capsule extracts provide a predictable levodopa dose with consistent symptom control, though they may act slightly faster and compete more noticeably. Highly concentrated extracts, potent but small dosing errors might cause stronger side effects. When switching forms, start with a lower dose, then carefully titrate under medical guidance.
Are lower concentration products safer and more natural?
Less processed forms often retain more natural compounds, antioxidants, amino acids, which might help reduce side effects and offer a gentler effect. However, natural variability means you might need larger amounts to achieve the desired therapeutic effect. In every case, medical supervision is essential to track benefits and side effects, regardless of concentration.
Does it matter if Mucuna is raw, processed in tablets, or made into a tea?
Yes, the form of Mucuna impacts its absorption and the amount of levodopa delivered. Raw or ground seeds, highly variable levodopa levels, possibly lower absorption. Extracts, more potent, standardized, and consistent. Capsules, tablets, can help maintain stable dopamine levels with controlled dosing. Teas, decoctions, hard to know how much levodopa you're actually getting. Products mixed with other ingredients. Additional substances may alter levodopa's absorption and effects.
How do I store my Mucuna so it remains potent and doesn't blacken?
Keep it in a cool, dry place, ideally at around 20-25 degrees Celsius, away from direct sunlight. Use airtight containers to protect from moisture, which accelerates levodopa oxidation, often leading to a dark or black appearance.
How do national regulations affect importing Mucuna?
In many countries, levodopa is classed as a prescription medication. Products with higher concentrations can exceed permissible levels. Essentially, levodopa regulations, safety concerns, and labeling often determine whether such products are allowed entry. For those living with Parkinson's, Mucuna pruriens can be an interesting complementary option, but never a substitute for conventional treatment. Remember, there are no miracle solutions or definitive cures yet. However, with proper advice and a responsible approach, we can make use of both traditional and complementary tools to enhance quality of life. Thank you very much for your attention.
Now, it was a mistake before. I confirmed the 4 and the 5. It's the 5, the video number 5, in which I would comment on the interesting exposition of Dr. Roberto Cilia. I repeat, I follow him, I admire him, and he will be one of the doctors that will defend Mucuna, the widespread after the clinical trial that he is doing in Africa. It would be interesting. I agree with him about the risk, and I explain how to overcome this risk, taking Mucuna properly. We'll see that. Maybe interesting this video. Is Mucuna only for the poor, or maybe apply also in the Western country?
Is Mucuna pruriens only for the poor? Mucuna grows wild where the poor cannot afford Sinemet. There it is the only option for people with Parkinson's, so no one argues against its use. I am Dr. Maldonado, a neurologist specializing in Parkinson's disease. I have an academic background and use conventional treatments, but I keep an open mind to unorthodox options. The best one is Mucuna pruriens, a tropical legume with naturally occurring levodopa, the same gold standard in Sinemet or Madopa. Many patients who use Mucuna have been disappointed by a recent interview with Dr. Roberto Cilia, a renowned neurologist whom I follow and admire. He discourages the use of Mucuna in Western countries. However, he strongly supports it in poorer regions where synthetic levodopa is prohibitively expensive or hard to obtain. In broad terms, I agree with his position with some important nuances to consider. First and foremost, Mucuna works. Famous neurologists such as Warren Olino and Andrew Lees are the ones who have registered Mucuna extracts as a treatment for Parkinson's patients. In various small clinical and observational studies, patients have often reported improvements in motor symptoms that are comparable to or better than those achieved with standard levodopa, carbidopa formulations, Sinemet or Madopa. And even without scientific protocols, Mucuna has been used safely and effectively in traditional medicine for more than 2,000 years. For nations where incomes are low and access to medications is scarce, Mucuna pruriens is a lifeline by three primary reasons. 1. Cost of synthetic levodopa. Standard PD drugs like Sinemet or Madopa may be priced well beyond the average monthly salary, making them unaffordable. 2. Abundant local supply. Mucuna grows spontaneously in many tropical climates, and local harvesting can provide a natural, cost-effective source of levodopa. 3. Evidence-based necessity. In such circumstances, arguing against Mucuna would be short-sighted. If it's the only realistic option for many patients, then it fulfills a critical therapeutic need. That said, the situation changes in Western or more affluent nations where synthetic levodopa is readily available. Dr. Cilia's stance that Mucuna isn't recommended in these settings stems from practical and regulatory considerations. 1. Poor quality control. Mucuna products found on the market often provide scant information about their composition. Labels may not always match what's inside the bottle, with levodopa concentrations fluctuating wildly. 2. Risks due to dosage errors. Some batches may contain less than advertised, leading to underdosing. Others can have more, risking accidental overdosing and interactions. When combined with carbidopa or benzerazide, potentially quadrupling its effect. 3. Doctors are frequently unfamiliar with Mucuna or dismissive of it because it isn't part of standard treatment guidelines. In addition, because it's not officially recognized, prescribing it can carry professional and legal risks. 4. Enthusiastic patients who are intrigued by Mucuna often struggle to find a physician willing to guide them. 5. Without professional oversight, these patients rely on piecemeal advice from internet forums or personal testimonies, which can be incomplete or misleading. These are serious barriers, and they explain why many Western specialists prefer the tried and true route of prescribing synthetic levodopa formulations that have undergone rigorous quality control and standardization. Despite the obstacles, I believe there is still room for Mucuna in Western countries, provided we address the above limitations effectively and responsibly. Here are some proposals to ensure patients' safety and well-being. 1. Look for trusted laboratories or suppliers that offer clear quality certificates, ideally with third-party testing. 2. Ensure they list the exact levodopa concentration in their capsules or powders. 3. Favor products of low or medium concentration over ultra-concentrated ones because precise dosing is critical for levodopa therapy. 4. Search for a physician or advanced practitioner who is open-minded about alternative approaches and has studied Mucuna's properties. 5. Monitor therapy. A professional take the control with the patient, keep track of symptom changes, and adjust doses to avoid complications. 6. Patients should have a thorough understanding of both Mucuna's benefits and its risks, including potential side effects, drug interactions, and the importance of consistent dosing. Adequate information also arms the patient with realistic expectations and helps them avoid internet miracle cure pitfalls. When these measures are in place, Mucuna can be integrated safely and effectively into a broader Parkinson's treatment plan, complementing, not necessarily replacing, conventional medications. One of the most exciting developments on the horizon is Dr. Celia's multi-center trial in several low-income countries. This project will involve hundreds of patients with Parkinson's disease who will be systematically monitored while taking Mucuna. Positive results on efficacy and security of Mucuna should reinforce its position as a legitimate PD therapy worldwide, not just in resource-limited settings. Imagine an FDA-endorsed Mucuna formulation with guaranteed potency and purity. That might give doctors the legal and ethical backing they need to feel comfortable prescribing it, thus increasing patient access in wealthier countries as well. This will lead to the acceptance of Mucuna by the medical community in all countries, and I am sure will benefit people with Parkinson's disease. I have a dream. My dream is for all people suffering from Parkinson's disease, rich and poor, to have a powerful and safe Mucuna controlled by doctors.
Can I say a quick word, actually, Rafael?
Sorry?
I wanted to say a quick word because I have had people asking if there will be a Q&A. Yes, there will be a Q&A in 7 minutes. So we have 7 more minutes of video, and then you will have the traditional Q&A. If you want to ask a question in the Q&A, please go to the button, the Q&A button at the bottom of your screens and enter your question. Thank you very much. Sorry for that, Rafael.
Well, be patient is the last video. That will be the last video. Finally, some patients like Marian and Jerome asked rather complicated question about Carbidopa and the use of Mucuna with Carbidopa or benzodiazepine. They are complex issues that I will try to simplify in the last video. We will finish and we begin with the question. I think it's coming, the last video, the short video. Maybe
it's coming.
Okay.
About Mucuna and Carbidopa.
That's Carbidopa and that's
Olivia is a partner, studious and very curious, who always asks me the most complex questions. I try to answer comprehensively.
Doctor, how do the blood-brain barrier and decarboxylase inhibitors affect levodopa treatment in Parkinson's disease?
That's an excellent question, Olivia. The blood-brain barrier is like a tightly controlled gateway. Dopamine itself can't pass through it, so we use levodopa instead. However, if we give levodopa on its own, too much of it can be converted into dopamine outside the brain. That causes side effects, such as nausea, and means less levodopa actually reaches the brain. Decarboxylase inhibitors, like carbidopa or benzorazide, block the enzyme that converts levodopa to dopamine in the body's periphery. They don't cross into the brain, so once levodopa reaches your brain cells, it can still convert into dopamine effectively. By using a decarboxylase inhibitor, we reduce peripheral side effects and can use lower doses of levodopa overall, making treatment more efficient and tolerable.
What happens if Mucuna is combined with Carbidopa in Parkinson's disease?
Mucuna pruriens is a natural source of levodopa. When we add carbidopa, a decarboxylase inhibitor, we further reduce the breakdown of levodopa in the body before it enters the brain. This combination can lead to more levodopa crossing the blood-brain barrier, potentially giving extra symptom relief. However, there is a risk of excessive levodopa levels if we don't dose carefully. Dyskinesia, nausea, tachycardia, and more, as Mucuna products can vary in their levodopa content. In this way, the natural levodopa from Mucuna would have a more effective and lasting action in the brain, and the peaks and valleys caused by its other ingredients would be avoided. Of course, individual responses vary.
I found that using very low doses of carbidopa, around 8 to 10 milligrams, I can reduce my mucuna to a quarter of the usual amount, and it lasts at least 14 hours. Is that really possible?
It can be. Even at lower doses, carbidopa still blocks peripheral conversion of levodopa. That means more of the mucuna's levodopa crosses into your brain. You end up needing less total mucuna to achieve the same effect, and the benefit can last longer.
I've seen 2 regimens that achieve the same clinical response. 450 milligrams mucuna levodopa 4 times a day, or 150 milligrams mucuna levodopa 4 times a day plus 8 milligrams carbidopa once a day. Which one is superior?
Both can work, but there are differences in how they balance efficacy and side effects. High-dose mucuna without carbidopa might control your symptoms, but you're at greater risk of peripheral side effects since more levodopa is broken down before reaching the brain. In contrast, using a lower dose of mucuna combined with carbidopa can reduce those side effects because carbidopa prevents the breakdown of levodopa outside the brain. Often, you can achieve the same or better symptom control with a smaller total amount of levodopa.
Does it matter if you take carbidopa first and then mucuna half an hour later, or the other way around? And how long does carbidopa last?
Timing can definitely matter. When you take carbidopa 30 minutes before your levodopa source, whether that's pharmaceutical levodopa or mucuna, you allow carbidopa to start working in the bloodstream, blocking peripheral enzymes straight away. That means more levodopa is preserved to cross into the brain. If you take them together, the overall effect might be slightly less potent. If you're sensitive to side effects or have fluctuating symptoms, that half-hour gap may help. As for duration, carbidopa's half-life is around 2 hours, and its inhibitory effect can last 4 to 6 hours. If you're only taking it once a day, the strongest effect is in the first part of the day.
I've read about green tea potentially increasing mucuna's effects. How does that compare to carbidopa?
Green tea contains a substance called EGCG, which can slightly inhibit enzymes that break down levodopa outside the brain. It also inhibits an enzyme called COMT, which normally breaks down dopamine. Some patients do notice modest improvements when taking mucuna with green tea. However, it's no match for the potency of carbidopa, which can boost levodopa availability by several times.
Do soya, black pepper, lemon juice, or other natural substances increase the effects of mucuna in the same way carbidopa does?
These substances can be part of a holistic approach, but none replace the targeted action of carbidopa. Olivia, I hope this helps you see how mucuna, carbidopa, and these other substances can interact. However, always remember to have a doctor's check and remember that each person's reaction is unique.
Finished. My video has finished. Now, Mark, Michel, please.
That's right. So Mark, thank you, Mark, for sharing your screen. We're back now to seeing Rafael and only Rafael. Actually, I'm looking at the question, Rafael, and a common theme that comes back through 3 or 4 different questions is how can you take mucuna pruriens? What can you take with mucuna pruriens to mitigate gastric upset and conversion before it reaches the brain? Now, apart from Carbidopa, does vitamin C, green tea, or other compound help?
Vitamin C is an antioxidant, but not especially important. About tea, I have been frustrated because I thought theoretically tea enhance the absorption, the promote the levodopa and conversion to dopamine, but in a very, very weak way. Compared with Carbidopa, the therapy is nearly nothing. 3 years ago, I believe in tea, but I think maybe being has for some people, but the best to provide the strength of mucuna is Carbidopa. Carbidopa used with synthetic levodopa is good, but also Carbidopa can be applied to levodopa, natural levodopa. It's the same. Levodopa, if you analyze mucuna and you analyze Sinemet or Madopar, we find levodopa, natural or synthetic. For both, Carbidopa or benzerazine works. But we have in Europe, we don't have Carbidopa. In the United States and in Canada also, you can buy Lodocin that is only Carbidopa. And something told me, Marianne, that we can find you can find Carbidopa all alone in Europe. It's not cheap, but you can have Carbidopa alone. The question is how to do it. Always under supervision, because there is a very risk. The risk, if you are not controlled by a doctor, is that with Carbidopa or benzerazine, the potency of mucuna is 4 or 5 times more. If you are taking 400 milligrams of levodopa with your mucuna, and you take Carbidopa, even a small dose, is 2,000 or 2,500 milligrams. That's the risk that Dr. Celia and many doctors say, me too. I always recommend low concentration of levodopa in the products of mucuna you buy, and also that the those are uniform. There are products that the word I showed before, or Tanya Den and others in Oregon, is that products of mucuna don't say what they don't state clearly what they have, and more some of them don't contain what they claim. It's a problem. That's why doctors don't like how we use something like mucuna that is difficult to manage. I have learned in the 2 or 3 years last year a lot, and also with a product that you don't know what content. It's more easy to take 1, 2, 3 capsules by day.
So Rafael, there are a lot of questions actually linked to what you just said. I'll try to take them in some kind of order. I think one of the questions that has come back is, why is, for instance, 15% better than 90%? Why is a lower percentage of mucuna better than a higher percentage?
Well, first of all, the risk. If you take mucuna 90%, the risk is very high. Nearly everything is levodopa. If you combine with other drugs of Parkinson, is a very risk of tachycardia, probably not only nausea, tachycardia and other important problems. And also common sense. If you are taking some product I have seen, 99% of levodopa, it means apart from the risk, that what is mucuna? If you are taking 99% of levodopa, the mucuna that give the benefits of mucuna take synthetic levodopa. Also, yes, and also the best will be just the seeds. If, like people in India, more than 2,000 years, or in Africa in the trial now, it's just to crush the seeds, to toast, because if you don't toast, that is a risk for other problem of toxin. And just the seed, if you take just the seed, you are taking 4 or 5%. This has also some problem, because with 4-5% of levodopa, you have to take a lot of product. The clinical trials in humans has been done with Sandopa. Sandopa is 4-5% of milligram, but you need. I have a slide between the video that I show how you need 30 milligrams. 30 grams of Sandopa to, for the clinical effect, or just one capsule of or tablet of Sinemet. Then 15, 10, 15, 20, even 40% is a balance between to take some enough levodopa, but not too much, and to profit the benefit of the plant.
Thank you, Rafael. I understand perfectly well the dangers of, first of all, the mislabeling, but also of too high dosage. A question that comes back a lot is what is the ratio of Carbidopa versus levodopa that people should be aiming for? Now, I understand you need to do that under controlled supervision of a doctor, but the question comes back a lot. What is the ratio between Carbidopa and levodopa?
Carbidopa.
Mucuna.
Well, no, and we begin without mucuna. Why Sinemet plus in Spain? Because the proportion of Carbidopa is higher. It's necessary at the beginning, where it is easy nauseas, it is easy tachycardia. When that's why you have 25 milligrams Carbidopa for only 100 levodopa. Because so you have less nausea, less tachycardia, and you tolerate well. But every people with Parkinson know that after 6 months, 1 year, they don't need so much Carbidopa because they don't have nausea. This is important in the long time. In the long time, you can use less Carbidopa. For instance, I begin with Sinemet in the proportion 1:5, and later 1:4, and later I change to 1:10 because we don't need more Carbidopa. With mucuna is the contrary. When I begin with some big people with mucuna, I used to add a little of Sinemet in the proportion with more Carbidopa, because in that way I put less synthetic levodopa, having more Carbidopa. If I had lodosine, I will do not, but the proportion is in the beginning. But later, I have learned with Marian and Jerome that very small amount of Carbidopa, even 1:20, may be enough to do more potent mucuna.
Okay, I understand. So can we take an actual example? If we have like mucuna 15%, like mucuna now, for instance, is the one that I'm using personally at 15%.
Well, yes.
I'm using Sinemet personally as well, but if I was not using Sinemet, if I was just using Mucuna now 15%, how much of Carbidopa should I aim to take?
Right. Always under medical supervision, because
Yes.
it's not only that. You may have other general problems. You may have antihypertensive. Somebody may have antidepressant. It's very complicated. We cannot explain in a simplify what is complex.
Yes.
It's complex. Then you ask to me, you take 15%, then it means that you have 60, between 60 with this product, between 60 to 100 levodopa by capsule. Well, the capsule is more precise. Then if you add just half a lot of zinc, 12.5 milligram of Carbidopa,
Yes.
you will have the effect of Mucuna before with more duration and more effective. That's usually as I propose, but it depends on many other questions. I was yesterday speaking with Jerome. How do I tell if I eat meat, if I eat more or pizza, or if I take it in breakfast? Breakfast is different than lunch. Then you have see your digestive habits. It's very important. How do you digest the mucuna, because it's a lot of vegetable there.
I understand. One big question that comes back from everyone. We're insisting all the time about doing this under medical supervision, but a lot of neurologists have no experience of Mucuna and do not recommend it. So many people are struggling to find people who can advise them. If you were asking me, apart from you, I don't know anyone else.
Yes, I know that. That's the problem. Even the more skeptical neurologists have to admit that Mucuna has levodopa. Common beans have levodopa. If you analyze it, the most skeptical neurologists have to know that levodopa was discovered by Guggenheim because he eat a lot of beans. Mucuna is just a bean that, as growing in tropical countries, have more concentration of levodopa. Later, if your doctor, your neurologist asks about Mucuna, despite that, well, doctor, do you know Warren Olanoff? Do you know Andrew Lees? Though two of the more important neurologists have patented Mucuna. And why? What happened? They have done that. They know about that. The problem is that it's difficult to use Mucuna. I have learning. Even 10 years after I use Mucuna, I'm learning still, because the dosage is different. Now, the dosage will be better if we ask a certificate of analysis. Something I asked in the forum to Marianne and also Jerome, it is necessary a certificate of analysis. You must know what you are taking.
Yes.
I don't understand how you cannot know. They don't say to you clearly what they're taking. Never take a Mucuna if you don't have a certificate of analysis. Now in Japan, they have there is a recent article about that. The certificate of analysis must be containing of exact proportion of levodopa and other ingredients as much as they can know, and also they have the risk included in the label or in the prospect the prospect they give, because natural, I told you that before, is not always means healthy. Not
Thank you. No, there is no commercial intent at all to this session, but being very practical, I understand that your clinic in Granada does teleconsultation. So would you accept patients from all over the world if people want to connect to you for their specific case, or should they refer to their local doctors, not knowing who will help them?
It is important to have more doctors, or unless some health providers with connaissance that know what they do. The problem with Mucuna is that patients don't know, most doctors don't know, and the product don't contain what they claim.
Yes.
That is the problem.
Talking about product, are there brands that you would recommend? I know, as I said, there is no commercial intent, but being practical and helping people here. Mucuna now has been mentioned several times in the past.
I don't want to say brands, commercial.
Okay.
I will say always look for a Mucuna between, Mucuna that has crushed seeds, that have only seeds, even in powder or even in capsule, are more sure. The difference may be that they changing the method of cultivation may have 3 or 4 or 5 or 6%, but they have less risk, always with medical. I discourage about, I advise about high concentration. That's why in the frontiers have problem, because before you can take Mucuna no problem. Why? Because taking Mucuna without Carbidopa or the Seracide is dilated in the blood. But the problem is when you mix Mucuna with drugs, Carbidopa versus Seracide. The risk is very, very high if you are taking not 4%, but 99%. It's a problem if you take 9%. If you take a teaspoon, you are taking a lot. A teaspoon of 99% have a lot of levodopa. And if you add Carbidopa, the risk is very high. That's why many doctors say it is a problem. I prefer to explain the risk.
Yes, I understand. So just to let you know, there still are a lot of comments coming up from people who just basically say, I will take an example here. Judith is a good example. He says, any advice on how to find a medical professional to advise and support me? My neurologist hasn't even heard of Mucuna and wasn't interested. So this is the big issue that people do have, the inability to access people with experience.
Yeah, it is necessary people will study what they recommend or what they despise.
Yes.
So despise,
Now,
I don't know about that. It's difficult. I say it's difficult, and I understand what they do. It's very difficult because you have to tailor the treatment, the individual treatment of each patient. It's difficult.
Now, can we say a word about people who take Mucuna and want to either stop taking Mucuna or want to change brands? Which measures should they take to do this in a safe way? So switching from one to the other or switching out of?
Well, it is necessary to be informed to change the Mucuna, but the first choice is your doctor of health provider. The question is very complex. It's not very so single as just then take me 2 or 3 or so many milligrams. It's very complex. We cannot explain, simplify what is complex.
Mm. Now, a question here from...
A question, tell me exactly the question you want.
The next question here is by someone who lives in the US and basically says Carbidopa by itself is not available in the US. Does that mean that the use of Mucuna is not recommended by yourself? Would you recommend the use of Mucuna to people who do not have access to Carbidopa?
what is the importance of mucuna? Taking mucuna, you can delay 1, 2, or 3 years other drugs. That's what we try. Then what I used to do before I had to know the patient. Knowing the patient, one of the things is to know how his bowel go, how the microbiota go, and later what is his or her individual profile to levodopa, synthetic levodopa, and natural levodopa. Then usually I recommend begin with just 1 carter of Madopar. Okay, we know how are you with 1 carter of Madopar. Later, you can add mucuna in the 5 or 10% or 15%, and we know how you respond to the mucuna alone and with the combination. Knowing that, we can go up slowly, progressively, and control how he's react in the morning, how he's react in the night, how the reaction change with the stress, or how he has sleep. It's very complex. It's more easy to say 3 tablets by day.
I understand. So
I love the treatment, like Jerome Alfarero.
So what you're saying, Rafael, is that it's very difficult to have like one recipe for all patients, that you need to know the patient and observe the patient, their habits, how they react.
Yes,
because
how they react. But do you want a general recommendation? Well, begin just with mucuna, slow. Only the mucuna with powder seed is the traditional treatment is just the seed tested in powder. And later,
yes.
you know that you ask your doctor. No, you had to ask your doctor before, and later you arrange with your health provider how do you could add tea or carbidopa in low dose, and you will see.
But no, I'm sorry, I'm hammering the same point again and again. But I do understand there is no magic formula for all people with Parkinson's. That's clearly understood. But I still get a lot of questions about some people who take 800 milligrams of mucuna now, 15%, which means 120 milligrams of levodopa. And they want to know what would be a rule of thumb for carbidopa. So if you take a capsule of 800 milligrams of mucuna now, 15%, that is 120 milligrams of levodopa. I understand there is no magic rule for everyone, but if there was a rule of thumb, what would be the approximate proportion you would just think of in carbidopa?
With your doctor, you may negotiate how to do. For instance, take less levodopa of mucuna with just 10 or 15 milligrams of carbidopa or benzoyl acid. You try, and later, after several days, knowing how that go, how that work, you can do it. Other situation maybe you are with your synthetic or natural levodopa, and it's the time to add more levodopa. No add more levodopa, add mucuna in low dose, and you will see how that goes.
Thank you. By the way, Alexandra, out of Florida, very kindly tell us, for information, I am in the US and carbidopa only is available. So thank you for that, Alexandra. Someone is asking whether you can mix synthetic and natural L-dopa to make the dose. So take your mucuna together with Sinemet, for instance, again, with doctor advice. But what is your view of this as a strategy?
Well, that's what I said before. Here in Europe, as we don't have Lodocin, we can recommend, we can take Mucuna with just one character of Madopar or half a Sinemet 25-100. In that way, take more proportion of Carbidopa because you are looking for Carbidopa. Then
Yes.
You just ask if you take half Sinemet 125, you take into 12 and a little more Carbidopa with only the 50 milligram of synthetic levodopa. It may be good. Sometimes may be good to mix that, as maybe good to associate sometimes Carbidopa and sometimes benseracid. You know, Carbidopa and benseracid are not exactly the same. They have an action inhibiting the decarboxylase, but they do it in some different way. For instance, benseracid begin before his effect and lost and shorter the efficacy. And Carbidopa begin a little later, but it's more prolonged. You can mix that. You have to know what is your therapeutic window. You have therapeutic window, you know, if you are low, it's bad. If you are high, it's bad. You have to stay here. And that change with you, and that change, what you take of Mucuna or something, that change if you take Carbidopa or benseracid or entacapone is another way of changing that. It change your therapeutic window is what you eat. If you eat beans, is different than if you eat meat or pizza. And it's different with your stress, and it's different if you have good happy news or sad news, or it's different if you have a good sleep. If you sleep well, you are better the last day. Then you have to know your window.
Understood. Now I have actually here, like a machine gun, 3 or 4 questions that are exactly the same about the timing of taking your Carbidopa versus the timing of taking your Mucuna. So should you take the Mucuna at the same time as Carbidopa, or Carbidopa first and then Mucuna?
Jerome and me was speaking about that yesterday.
Yeah, we talked about that, yeah.
Tell us.
I normally take my Carbidopa 30 minutes before, and then I take my Mucuna. And it has more effect, it's better like that.
Yes,
but
because
you can also take them at the same time. It really depends on how you react to it. So Carbidopa 30 minutes before and then Mucuna.
But
4 times a day.
Even individual reaction, if you take Carbidopa together with Mucuna, you delay the effect of Carbidopa. Then you are losing the effect on levodopa of Mucuna. Take it half an hour before, for instance, Carbidopa. And when Mucuna levodopa of Mucuna enter in your blood, there is Carbidopa waiting for her. Beep here.
Okay, so we're talking about taking Carbidopa first. Of course, again, all people can be different and have different experiences, and it needs to be done with medical control. But generically, talking here about everyone in general.
Asking your doctor, I repeat.
But otherwise, Carbidopa first.
You can understand different. I may say something, and there is the interpretation you do, and there is the interpretation do somebody to whom you speak about that. No, a doctor knows Mucuna, health provider knowing Mucuna, but it's difficult to know Mucuna. I'm still learning.
Amy is asking, what is the half-life of Mucuna in the body, and is it the same as Carbidopa, levodopa?
Well, the half is the same, not exactly the same. The level of levodopa or some drugs in the blood is not exactly that in the brain. Maybe they let levodopa in the blood and it's still in the brain. It's different how I enter the brain and how before and how later, like caffeine. Caffeine, if you take tea, is different of if you take coffee. It's the same, in the same substance, trimethylxanthine, caffeine and theine is the same substance. What makes the difference? The difference is the ingredients, many of them are known of tea and caffeine. The ingredient of caffeine do a short and a quick finish. And tea, the ingredient of tea are slowly going up and slowly finishing. It's like Sinemet, retard, or other CVS, what we pretend.
Thank you. So Dave is basically saying that he has had a very bad reaction to Sinemet. So Dave has had a very bad reaction to Sinemet, and he's asking whether he would likely have the same reaction to Mucuna. Now, I don't know what reaction he had, but he's considering switching to Mucuna, but wondering if it would have the same impact as he had with Sinemet.
It's different. It's the first time he takes Sinemet. Is Sinemet 25-100 or is Sinemet 250? Has he other problems, other general problems, health, hypertension, diabetes, or so on? And later, what happened to him? Just now,
Yes.
the question is very complex. If he tell me all this question I do,
you would be able to help.
I will be able.
Okay, so for that, I think that this is not the right forum for a private consultation. So I would then suggest that actually, in that case, Dave, that you contact Dr. Maldonado directly for this question. Now, Philippa is asking an interesting question. She's basically saying that given that the long-term synthetic levodopa is strongly associated with dyskinesia, do you believe that natural cofactors in mucuna, such as serotonin, NAD, and antioxidants, play a protective role?
Well, it's different. She's asking if she take mucuna now, or she's asking if she had take mucuna 2 years ago. It's different. Now, I give a general explanation. Mucuna give less dyskinesia than Sinemet, of course, but may give dyskinesia when you take mucuna in high concentrated levodopa products or about many years. Dyskinesia may be produced by mucuna, but very, very, very less than with Sinemet. Somebody includes, I don't know about that, but there is some study that put Carbidopa as a companion in the dyskinesia, but this had discussion about that. If you can take less levodopa with mucuna, I will use it.
Thank you. So one question here, again from BM, is mucuna better for people who are at an early stage of Parkinson's? And should they try mucuna as soon as possible to avoid dyskinesia? So is it better for people at a different stage in the evolution of the disease?
If you can stay 2 years without taking other drugs, it's very good. There is also another effect. People taking mucuna at the beginning develop a holistic comprehension of the situation. They do exercise, they are informed, they change his lifestyle, and it's very good. You may delay, as I repeat, 1, 2, or 3 years the beginning of levodopa, and later, when levodopa is necessary, drugs will be necessary in some time, but later as you can, in as little as you need. But if you spare 2 years, without take agonists. Why the agonists are necessary? Well, some are necessary, but agonists say that taking agonists 2 years, you can delay the levodopa. Well, agonists also give dyskinesia. And what are the risks of agonists? See the prospect, see the label,
Yes.
see the paper. Compare that risk with the risk of Mucuna. Take a good product with supervision.
Understood. Jim is asking whether Carbidopa itself has side effects or contraindications with other medicines.
Carbidopa is very, very good, but that are desirable. Carbidopa delete vitamin B6, for instance. If you take a long Carbidopa, you know that people with pump of levodopa, they can do polyneuritis because a default of vitamin B6. But Carbidopa is necessary to combine with a small amount of levodopa, natural or synthetic. For
Thank you,
instance,
Rafael.
add Carbidopa to Mucuna, you eliminate the problem of that have and don't have Sinemet because have Carbidopa.
Thank you very much. David has an interesting question here. He's asking what is known about the role of levodopa in the Mucuna plant itself. So what is it doing in the plant? And can we hypothesize anything from this plant function for understanding Mucuna's use in humans? So this is really about the role of Mucuna and levodopa in the plant itself. What does it do to the plant? And can we learn something about that?
Plants, tropical plants, need to defend from other plants more than in tropical country. It's more important for plants to eliminate the other plant. Then levodopa really may have a function of destroy the enemy. The plant produce levodopa to destroy their enemy. That's why in Mucuna seeds, you have to take off the toxic effect of the seeds of Mucuna to defend the plant of the other plant. If you take seeds of Mucuna just as they are, it's toxic because you need to eliminate the toxin that use plants to defend from the other plant, the roots and also other in the feed in the hoja in the rest of the plant.
So staying with the plant for a second, Karen is asking if there is serotonin in Mucuna, and I think the answer is yes. I think if I remember your slide. And if so, what is the role of serotonin in connection with dopamine?
Well, serotonin and others, we don't know, not only serotonin, but the difference I have seen in my patients are that they are better when taking Mucuna than in motor function, but also in their mind. They are different. Me, when I was in Amazonas, in the river of Brazil, taking Mucuna, I took Mucuna and I feel better. And that's very good in the disease because depression is bad for Parkinson and for the motor function even, and they are better by serotonin. And usually they sleep better and usually they are more happy. That's an impression I have.
So on that note, Cindy is not asking a question, she's making a comment. She's saying that she has been diagnosed 5 years ago and she only takes Mucuna and she's doing very well. So thank you, Cindy, for this positive experience.
Congratulations, Cindy. You have spared 5 years with drugs. It will be better for you in the last years. Okay.
Excellent. And Mario, this is not a question. Mario is actually a French speaker who would like to get in touch with you directly. Would you allow us to share the email address you've been using after the session?
Well, depend du temps. Well, we could do. Je parle français meilleur que l'anglais. Je peux parler en français meilleur qu'en anglais.
So otherwise, Mario, you can reach out to No Silver Bullet, and I will be happy to share your email with Dr. Maldonado. To find our email address on how to contact us, please use our website, which is nosilverbullet4pd.com, nosilverbullet4pd.com.
Well, you can put my details of address.
Okay, we'll put that on the YouTube then.
Okay. In my channel, I just begin with this, with the occasion of No Silver Bullet, to begin a YouTuber. I have a new channel of Mucuna Parkinson. Okay.
So Erin has a great comment here. It is not a question, but it's a question that I know you will not answer. But she's basically taking half a Sinemet with 60 milligram Levodopa Mucuna. And she's saying, this is more interesting. By the way, my neurologist knows I take Mucuna, she just doesn't know how to advise. So this is quite a frequent situation.
She just doesn't know how to advise. Some neurologists say, I don't have problem with Mucuna if other can prescribe it.
And Morgan's is also, it's another question, but a comment that can be useful to the audience. He says, I did shift to Mucuna now, that is the brand, NOW, from Sinemet, and it stopped the nausea. I highly recommend it.
He cannot do it alone. You must have, how to say, with your doctor on your side, with doctor on your side. Don't do it alone.
So Marcia is asking whether there are contraindications to using Mucuna together with dopamine agonists. Can you use them together?
There is no experience. Sometimes I look for that in the PubMed, for instance, and I have not found that. I know that many people use it without problem, without apparent problem, but I usually recommend to take off agonists of dopamine because in another function, and the risk of the problem of agonists, the ludopathy and so on are higher. But I have seen many patients that take it without apparent question. But the common sense is don't take together.
Now, one thing I have learned since I was diagnosed 5 years ago is to make sure that I take my Sinemet at the right time versus my meals, especially when it is high protein meals. So in practice, I wait 2 hours after food. Sorry, I wait an hour after Sinemet before eating, and I wait 2 hours after food before taking Sinemet. The question from Sam is that, is it the same thing for Mucuna? Should you also be aware of your protein intake versus the time of your Mucuna?
It's the same speaking about Levodopa, but it's different as when you take Mucuna. It depends, but if you take Mucuna between 5 and 15%, the bulk is different. If you take order of seed power, the bulk is different. Then the question is the absorption in the digestive. Your microbiota has many things to say. Your motility, your gastrointestinal motility has many to speak about that.
Understood.
Usually, Parkinsonian patients are very good if they don't eat too much. don't eat too much more when you take Mucuna.
Understood. So Hani is asking whether there has been any benefits of Mucuna for ADHD. Now, I know we're talking here about Parkinson's, but we can understand that Mucuna has also other components that can be helpful for other conditions. Do you have anything to comment on that?
But ADHD,
ADHD, attention deficit syndrome.
no, I don't have tried that. Maybe I have no experience of that, of course, and maybe no good because in that, well, it depends. In attention deficit, sometimes you take amphetamine, and in that way, maybe, but I have no experience. I elucubrate if I speak about that.
So I have a comment here from a Parkinson's nurse, and this is quite telling. She says, I'm a Parkinson's nurse specialist, and she would be happy to support her patients with Mucuna if only she knew what she was doing. And she's asking you, would you consider putting on training sessions for healthcare professionals?
Yes,
maybe you do already.
Not necessary. There is a gap with the with the doctor that may control Mucuna, and be with the patient that having no doctor do what they believe. The nursery professional would be very important, an intermediate between that in that gap. Well, it will be very good, better than to do it alone.
Perfect, thank you very much. I think that we have answered 45 questions and left 20 open, so I think we will stop here.
We have to listen to Jerome and Marianne something in a few minutes.
I think that actually, well, there was one question actually, Marianne, from someone in Holland saying that he didn't know where to go to buy Carbidopa. I don't know if you want to comment on that.
Marianne.
You're muted.
Marianne, your microphone.
Sorry, do you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
I got that question a lot of times, and I think it's rather difficult to get it. I asked my pharmacology, and they ordered it for me, so I got it. And I think I put it in the Facebook group where it comes from. It comes from the ad hoc hypotheek uit Beierland. So, but the person who asked me couldn't order it there, so it's difficult. But
I understand. So
yeah.
look, as I said, thank you, Marianne. I know it seems to be difficult for everyone to find Carbidopa anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
Apart from Florida, perhaps. I saw a message there. So I will conclude this session. I do understand that there is some frustration from certain parts of the audience that you did not get like a clear ratio, universal law, if you want, of how much Carbidopa you need to take with Mucuna. I think that actually, Rafael, thank you very much for presenting today, but you were also very honest to say that it depends from one person to the other. And of course, I know that some of you will be left a tiny bit frustrated that it depends. It's not exactly what you were hoping for. You were hoping for a ratio. But I hope that actually, despite that, and despite the difficulty to find doctors who can help you, this session has proven interesting and has basically highlighted a lot of important facts. As I said, with your permission, Rafael, we will add the email address of your clinic to the presentation so that people can basically reach out to you if they want to consult or have specific questions. You will be limited in your ability to answer all emails, I'm sure, but at least it gives them one link.
Later the email, and later sometime I have a video.
Now we'll keep one last question actually for you, Rafael, which is basically no longer about Mucuna, but about you having been 30 to 40 years in the field. What are the developments at the moment that you see in Parkinson's research that you find might be helpful and might bring us more relief symptomatically, or maybe in terms of slowing down progression? What is getting you excited when you read the news?
I'm not a researcher in the clinical laboratory. I'm a researcher of the patient, a researcher of the mind of the patient. I think the best research in last year in Parkinson's disease treatment is exercise. There is only a few years that doctors recommend exercise to change the their style of life. That is the way you see, not just to prescribe. Parkinsonian people is very intelligent. They cannot understand that you say 3 tablets a day in 6 months, 4 tablets a day. No, they have to understand. You have to listen. I have listened a lot with patients, and the research is to listen patient and to explain that the best treatment in Parkinson's disease is exercise. And the second, the open mind, to change the lifestyle.
You're perfectly right. I mean, I have reflected often about the fact that if there was a pill in the market that was delivering the same benefits as exercise, we would be fighting for it and we'd be paying a lot of money for it. So that pill, each of us has it, so we can exercise. And I know that actually many people on this forum will be exercising as you take a very proactive aspect to managing your condition. So Rafael, Jérôme, and Marianne and Mark, thank you so much for helping us today and for this presentation. Thanks again. And as I said, on the 10th of March, if my memory is correct, on the 10th of March, we will be hosting Professor Sebastian Overeems, who will be talking to us about Parkinson's and sleep. Sebastian Overeems was recommended to us by Bas Bloom, with whom he's working quite closely. You know him actually, Rafael? I see you nodding. No, you know. So
it's very interesting in sleep and Parkinson, yes?
Sleep is very important, it's critical. So thank you.
Asking about how they sleep and how they dream. It's very important.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone. I will shut it down here. Sorry if we couldn't answer all the questions as always, but you have answered 45 questions, which I think is not far away from a top record. Thank you, Rafael. Thank you, everyone. And have a good day or good evening.
You have a very good webinar.
Thank you so much.
Stay here. Thank you.
Thank you.